Hey y'all, I wanted to explain a little more why I've said I love Jonathan Davis and why I said he saved my life. Trigger warning necessary, but I promise my message is uplifting and positive. I'll just start by saying I have a terminal illness, so my life is inevitably cut short, but my doctors expected I would be already dead. So here's how Jonathan prolonged and saved my life. I've had severe health problems my whole life, but my parents never took me to get medically evaluated. I'm the only child from a very strict, abusive household. Academic success was mandatory, not optional. I was in the first grade by the time I was 4. I started getting chronic migraines and weird neurological problems by the time I was 5. Nothing in my life was comforting. I didn't know why I wasn't getting medical care. I had these vivid dreams of a man whose face I could clearly see. His name was Jonathan, and he kept turning up so much that I started drawing him. I would start doing sketches as a girl of this man named Jonathan. My parents said, "Who the hell's Jonathan?" I said, "I don't know, but he's important." I even named my cat Jonathan. Television, radio, and popular music was completely banned in my household. I wasn't allowed to leave the house. I didn't have friends. I was not in any way exposed to Korn, so I don't know how he turned up in these dreams. I had chronic migraines as a kid and a teenager, chronic nerve pain. The expectations on me were so intense, though, that I pushed through it. I went to public school. My immune system was shot. Every time I would get a cold, I'd be down for like a month, but I somehow graduated valedictorian at 17. I got my bachelor's degree at 21, my master's at 23. I was desperate to get away from my abusive home life. I met my boyfriend. I stayed with him for a decade just to get away from my home. I gradually realized he's an abusive sociopath, but I stayed with him because I didn't have enough money to live alone, and he was still better than my parents. I decided to go back to school and get a degree as a pharmacist so I could make enough money to live alone. Around the time I started my first hospital rotation, I got COVID and RSV at the same time, and it nearly killed me. It turns out I have a very compromised immune system. I was on breathing support for 3 months. As my lungs were healing, my neurologic disorders set in. It turns out I have trigeminal neuralgia and a form of motor neuron disease. Trigeminal neuralgia as a whole is considered the most painful condition known to the human experience. I get hundreds of attacks per day of electric shock style nerve pain that attacks my face and causes tics. It's also known as tic douloureux. I don't film during worse attacks, but I often lose mobility or muscle control of my face. I have hundreds of tics and spasms that send electrical shock pains. I have involuntary muscle movement spasms and seizures, and it's gradually progressing. And then I have motor neuron disease, which is gradually destroying the nerves and muscles in my face and body, and it's ultimately fatal. The intractable pain of trigeminal neuralgia alone usually causes up to 50% of sufferers to take their lives within 2 years. When I was in and out of the hospital searching for medical answers and the right medication titration with my doctors, no one was with me. I would bring my laptop or my phone and pull up anything I could to distract myself. And that's when I stumbled upon the Woodstock 99 HBO documentary, and I saw Jonathan for the first time. When his face came on screen, my jaw dropped. It was the face I'd seen since I was a little girl. And then they flashed back to the concert footage, and my jaw dropped even more because I had never seen such insane energy from a performer or a band or a crowd, and I was totally captivated. Then I listened to Jonathan's solo album and his solo tour, which is phenomenal. Hate to be unoriginal, but like a lot of fans say, it's like he read your diary to you. He connected with your pain. He said what was in your head, and I had never had that experience. In and out of the hospital and bedridden, I would just watch his documentaries, any videos with him. And considering I kind of dreamt of his face on and off throughout my whole life, yeah, I think he's the most beautiful My health was nonetheless on a steep decline. I was dying from malnutrition because the pain in my face was too much for me to even eat. I lost close to half my body weight, and my doctors were telling me it's time to make hospice arrangements. I didn't want to just die. My boyfriend left me. My family gave up. Didn't have a good circle of friends. I watched Jonathan's videos on mental health awareness and suicide prevention. And that was enough for me to try. I had to get really creative. I started pureeing all my meals and getting those nutritional supplement shakes and drinks and packages that they give to people who need feeding tubes. And I started getting my weight up and recovering from the pneumonia. And that was the turning point where I got away from nearly dying. I have an absolute ton of specialists and medications in rotation depending on which conditions are flaring worse and where they are. And then I got housing assistance and Social Security, which was another turning point, so that I can live independently as long as possible. I've pretty much made peace with the better circle of friends I have, caring for my 2 cats and myself as long as I can do so independently. And in the meantime, I want to look at Jonathan. His music's the only stuff I've ever heard that confronts like the worst in life in a way that's combative and cathartic and actually makes me feel better. Though I'm not gonna lie, his naughtier songs and sexy stage presence make me feel a lot better too. So yes, I do thirst. I thirst hard, which is another medical miracle because I was not in any kind of mood prior. Y'all have seen my videos, it's not a secret. I don't have to tell y'all. He's sexy and he knows it. But that is not to detract from how amazing I think his mind is. And he's done so much to help people like him.
Do what's in your heart and be yourself and do this. And I'm doing this to help people that suffer from depression and suicidal thoughts.
He's been through hell himself. We're lucky to have him. I'm sure y'all figure if I met him, I would toss myself at him. I'd want to. But more than likely, I would sob my eyes out and thank him. 'Cause I'm grateful he's in the world. So yeah, that's my creepy fangirl backstory. Thank you for watching.